Hey everybody, it's John. Today I have British Schools Explained, which I never quite understood how this worked. I know friends of mine that went over for what we call college, or you guys call university. But let's get into it.
Hi, I'm Siobhan Thompson, and this is Anglophenia. Now, many of the most beloved stories from the UK are set in schools, all the way from Tom Brown's School Days to Harry Potter and the History Boys. But the British school system is remarkably different from that in the US, so much so that it's often the first thing that Americans ask me to explain to them. So, here is the Cliff's Notes version of how the British school system works, but study up because there's going to be an exam at the end of the video.
I'm not gonna
Public
lie.
schools
I don't mind
and
watching
state
her.
schools. What Americans call private schools are called public schools in the UK, and
What?
what you call public schools, we call state schools. There are also some private
So I went to a public school for you. That would mean a private school for me. And most, I guess, people go to state schools. Okay.
schools that don't call themselves public schools, they call themselves private or independent schools. But most of the ones that Americans are thinking about, where people live in a mansion and wear a very silly uniform, are called public schools. Got
Interesting.
it? Most state schools these days are comprehensives, meaning that they accept students of every academic ability. But there was a system that's still in place in some areas of secondary modern and grammar schools. There,
Okay.
kids take a test at 11 to see what type of school they'll go to, the grammar schools being more academic and the secondary moderns more vocational.
That makes too much sense. I'm not saying. I mean, if just to know what you're good at least. Okay.
Church schools. There's no separation of church and state in the UK, so many schools, both state and public, are church schools. Oddly, this doesn't translate into later church attendance, which is much lower in the UK than in the US. Sort of like how most people don't use algebra after the age of 18, I guess. Uniforms. Pretty much all schools have some kind of uniform, ranging from a school jumper all the way up to the white tie and tails that they wear at Eton. The idea behind it is to create a sense of identity and school pride. See?
Yeah.
Still fits.
Okay. I did go to one where we had uniforms up until 8th grade, which would be like, I don't know, 13 or 14, something like that. The idea wasn't to create an identity. The idea was to say that you're all the same. Nobody's better than another, which I don't know. It kind of makes sense in the States, I guess. But okay.
Prefects. In British schools,
It did create. Well, it did the opposite of creating school pride. We kind of hated our school. But, what are you going to do?
older students can be chosen to be prefects. Being a prefect sounds super cool, but in reality it mostly entails policing the lunch line and stopping the younger kids from hitting each other. You do get a cool badge though, so that's something. Most schools also have a head boy.
We called that the hall monitor. I didn't have one in my school, but it's like sort of the... All right, I get it. It's like the head person, or we would have like... I don't know, we also have the class president, that kind of thing, but...
boy and a head girl who attend school council meetings and give a speech at prize giving at the end of the year.
Oh, there we
prize
go.
giving is the closest thing that we have to a graduation ceremony.
Okay, we call that the class valedictorian. That is the person who does the best, usually either academically or academically and all around. That would be the class valedictorian, and that is before you go off to university, or as we also call it, college.
Exams. National exams are a huge part of the British school experience. It's all very simple. You take GCSEs at 16 and then A-levels at 18, which are kind of like AP exams, but different.
Okay, interesting. We have SATs. It's standardized academic testing. It's basic knowledge. You take that when you're like 16-ish, something like that, 15, 16. And then you have SAT2s, which are they're not AP, advanced placement, but they're for more stuff that's like not math, like history related, I believe, things like that. I did well in those.
Also, in Scotland, they study for hires instead of A-levels, and GCSEs used to be called O-levels. Also, AS levels happen in the middle of A-levels. Look, it's just This is the most complicated bit, I promise.
Yeah?
Revision.
I hope.
This is just what we call studying for exams. It's not a biggie, just a lot of people seemed confused about it. Juniors and seniors.
Okay.
Instead of the American system of elementary school, middle school, and so on, most British schools are divided into juniors and seniors. Junior school, also called primary school, is for 4 to 11-year-olds, and senior school is for 11 to 18-year-olds. At some public schools, they divide it up a little differently. They have pre-prep from 4 to 7, prep from 7 to 13, and then senior from 13 to 18.
Well, that makes more sense, I guess. Let me just go back and take a look at that. All right. So we have, I don't know what you would call it. We have elementary school that goes till, I guess, right about here, to age 7 or 8 actually. And then we have an intermediate school, which is like where my son is now. It would go up to like 13, and then for senior we have it's broken up into 2 parts: a middle school, which is like that's just before high school, and high school's the last 4 years. So that would be, I don't know, maybe 15 through 18, and sometimes 19. It all depends on when you're born. There's like a cutoff age. It's kind of weird too, come to think of it, but all right.
To 18. Sixth form. The last 2 years of school is called the sixth form, divided into the lower sixth and upper sixth.
Okay.
The name is a hangover from a previous, more complicated system of naming classes which has stuck around for some reason. In many schools, sixth formers are given a lot more freedom than the other students, often being allowed to wear their own clothes instead of school uniform.
Oh.
Cool. University. You apply to do a single subject at British universities and only study that one thing. No maths or language requirements or any of that other stuff that you have to do at American colleges.
What? That is amazing. So you just get right into doing what you're doing after age 18? Like if you want to be, I don't know, an astronomer, you just get right into astronomy and the sciences? That's amazing. So in the States, going to the school, going to university or college, I think you guys call college what we call high school, but we call college and university are kind of interchangeable at this point, but just means it's a smaller university. We get in there and we have to do you have to take a language and you got to make sure you pass that language, for 1 semester of a language, 1 semester of math. And you can take these courses over the summer to see if you can sort of place out, which means you don't have to take them your first year. But you actually have 4 years to take all of them, to be honest with you. But it's basically the 5 majors, like science and all that other stuff, and economy and things like that. But you have to just be able to pass those, and then you can move on. But it actually, if you take them all in 1 semester, then you kind of lose a semester. It sucks, actually, now that I think about it.
Bachelor's degrees generally take 3 years, and you know what, let's just cover this.
Well, that makes sense, because 4 years for us.
In another video, it's very complicated.
Okay.
So there we go. Are there any things about British schools that you have questions about?
Yeah, I have questions about that middle section. I did not understand that at all. Otherwise, it kind of does make sense. It's a little more complicated. But you know what? I kind of get it, because it's not as bad, because, in the States, it's state by state. They make their own educational decisions and how they're going to do it. And actually, this is what I think is the hard part, is they also decide what they're going to choose to teach. For example, a topic such as the Holocaust, a particular state can choose whether or not they wish to even mention it, I guess. And so the whole thing is, it's not like they're not teaching history or an event. They're not lying about it. They're omitting it because maybe it's an extremely religious state for some reason, or, whatever it may be, which is weird. So people in the U.S., and you wonder why people in the U.S. are so really messed up. It's because 50 different states have 50 different ways of raising your children. You're looking at 50 different countries, basically, trying to come together as one, which can be a plus and it can be a minus. So a lot of people, when they get into college, that's their first, or university, that's their first real exposure to people who were not from their state. So, all right, guys, let me know what you think down below, and appreciate it. Have a great one. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. I do appreciate you watching, and have a great one. Bye-bye.